few minutes, and also get to find out one or two things. Plus, get to jam that brand new single that is so different from the Muyiwa that we knew, and also get to find out what more to Muyiwa that we don't know yet.
Okay.
So these and much more you have to look out for on the show this morning. First off, now this scarf that you have across your neck, I know you've answered this question probably before a number of times, but
No, that's cool.
is this your juju?
Yeah. How easy
Because-
is juju?
because
What's juju? You mean
Thank
juju?
you. Yeah, juju. Oh,
I'm an African man. He just keep calling telling me
Okay.
juju.
Juju.
Harry and Meghan ain't here, you know.
Okay, so is this your juju? For those who don't understand what I'm talking about, like your charm, your lucky charm, or your maybe some guy has done something for you that, see, when you just when you're going out, just wear that scarf and things happen. So is that what this is about? Because for years now you've been wearing this, and I think there must be a meaning to it.
Well, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, just get onto Praiseworld's live broadcast. You'd see. So I wear these African scarves, generally Ankara, mostly Ankara, and I mean, if I said it was my juju, that would lose me all your Christian audience at once, isn't it? But for me, it's something that there's a whole journey about identity. What people don't know about my family, and people will see Big B. You know, he jumps around a lot. People think I'm energetic. He is worse. But what informs how scintillated we are on stage is our story, and a part of our story is being in an environment where you're said to be less than somebody else because of your skin color,
Right.
And we had to struggle with that a lot. Identity and not the support that wasn't there because of different reasons, you know. And so for a while, I wanted to change my name. I was Archbishop in Archbishop Tennyson's grammar school. I wasn't the only black kid there. The funny thing is, the worst abuse I got was from the black boys in the school. I had two white friends, Colin Gibbons and Wayne Vianesi. Wayne was a Spanish boy. And the black boys would abuse me, you effing African. And actually, I'm writing a book They Call Me Effing African. And they would call me all sorts of names. And they would leave bananas on my table at school.
Just black boys.
Yeah, man. Just to remind me of what a monkey I was. But now, you know, the Nigerian streak in me, I'm like... So I would just take the banana and eat it, you know.
Right.
But it was very hurtful. It was very damaging to my sense of self-worth. And so because of that, I wanted to change my name from Muyiwa. I wanted to become Stephen Byright because I thought having an English name would help me blend in.
Right.
Then I remembered Shola Olanrewaju, which is my mother.
Okay.
My dad wasn't really a problem. Kayode Karimo Olanrewaju is cool. Shola Olanrewaju she was a terrorist. And I thought, even though she's in Nigeria, she will beat me black and blue via remote control. You know, and I thought, you know what? Can you imagine? I thought, can you imagine that I go and this is how, I don't know about you, my brain gets very animated in pictures. So I'm thinking, I've gone somewhere and I meet one auntie and they say, oh, meet Stephen, and she'd be like,
Muyiwa?
Stephen go Muyiwa. Yeah. I'm not thinking, oh my God.
You're dead.
Yeah. We can't do that. So I remained Muyiwa. Then I got to a stage where I became more aware of myself, and I concluded in my theological journey that God made no mistakes making me an African. I mean, when you think the way it's funny the way we downgrade ourselves as Africans, even when it comes to religion. You know, we think Hillsong is better than what we have. Because of the production values they have, but actually they've got resources that some of us don't have, and that goes over to our theology, and we think they're better. When actually, when you look historically, people like Tertullian, who's a great theological father in theology, he's an African, you know. So anyhow, so all that came to my consciousness, and I thought, you know what? I am going to go everywhere and tell them whenever they give me a chance. My name is Muyiwa Olanrewaju Shalom. Yeah, baby.
Whoa.
And then I started wearing the scarves, and I thought, and it was such a conversation starter, because people would look and say, "Why'd you wear the scarf?" So I tell them the whole story.
Wow.
And then it became something of an emblem, as it were, because I remember my last conversation with my father. Interesting. My mother, what she said was, before the last time, before I was extracted back to the UK, she said to me, one of the things she said was, I mustn't trust black people. Now, that's just her. We a lot of us in Nigeria suffer from neocolonialism. A lot of us in Africa, we suffer from that, and it's just a reality, which is why we think offering from foreigners is better than us. It's neocolonial. So my mother said, don't trust black people because they would always want to bring you down. White people would help you. And that was a problem for me, because when I got to the UK, the people who were doing me injury
were the black guys.
You know, and then I thought it was real. And then I realized that some of those black boys, the reason they were doing it is because they didn't want to be black themselves, because 90% of them were half Africans. These boys,
right.
You know. And then I realized the only time I had knife crime in my life was white people. No black person's ever attacked me. Only white people. Then I began to experience some of the real realities of being black in the UK. And it just didn't line up with what my mother said, because those who were aiding me were black people. Those who were assaulting me were white people. But my mother had said, no, white people would help you. No. So all that really messed with me. But my father, I remember he said to me, that he didn't say much. He never said much. One of the things he said to me was, remember whose son you are, and remember you're an Olanrewaju. And I know a lot of Nigerian parents say that, but that rang true for me, because he was the giant in my life, you know. And so the scarf became a representation of those words for me with him. And then it just became something that just stuck. So
wow. It's quite interesting, you know, how just a fashion item can tell a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it can spark a conversation that can be so inspiring.
But you
have to ring a bell with that.
That's the thing with us, you see. But most of us don't take the time we look at people and just make a lot of assumptions. But their fashion designers will tell you there's a story behind you look at Megan's wedding dress. There is, until you discover the story behind it and discover how long the designer had been working on it. She says she wanted Megan to feel comfortable in it and also feel chic in it. And you just look at it and think, I mean, men will look at it and think, it's just a wedding dress, isn't it? And the girls will look at it and think, oh my God, I want my wedding dress to be like that.
Yeah.
But when you hear from the designer, you hear the story. Same thing with us. If we ever take enough time in church or wherever, just to stop and the people we want to throw stones at because they're not dressed like we think. If you stop just to think, what's the story behind that? I think we'll find that they're a lot more human, and they're just as desiring of God as we are. It's just they just don't look like us,
right.
You know. So there's always a story behind it if you're willing to stop long enough to ask the question and go beyond the simple answers the person gives, and also listen to what they're not saying. A lot of us just hear what people say, but we don't bother to stop and think, what is it they're not really saying? Because people will tell you stuff, but whilst they're telling you, they're trying to figure out, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
Are they going to jump on me? So I'll throw out a bit and just see what. And if your body language is funny, they just withdraw and just tell you something else. You know. So it's
for someone who has interviewed thousands or hundreds of people, I think that's that's one thing. You know, once you're on an interview like that, you know, you ask a question and the person naturally does this. You know, answers your question and looks at the feedback like, are you with me? Or, you know, and that really determines if the person will continue saying stuff or not. Interesting stuff. Now, for we African people, I think our parents played a very huge role in our growing up and in who we are today. 2 questions now. First, now your mom, does she still have that effect on you?
To a degree, yes, she does. My mom's been dead for
for
years. My father has been dead for, I think, 20 years now, if not. Yeah.
Oh.
And my mum has been dead for almost, she died like 7 years after him.
Oh, I see.
But the reality is,
even thinking about her,
I'm telling you, they're still in my head. We're talking to me. But you know. I mean, when you explore it theologically, this thing of Hebrews talking about the cloud of witnesses. I remember once I was a premier, and usually in premier I'll get in, 6 a.m. and then I'll go for a run before staff come in and all that. And I was running and I was listening to Jonathan Nelson's Finish Strong. Okay. And I was running, I was listening to, and I just started to cry because I realized that Kayode Karimo Olanrewaju and Shola Olatunde Olanrewaju gave up so much for me to be where I am now. And it was incumbent on me to finish strong, regardless of what the challenges were, regardless of what the hurdles were, regardless of what the pain that I felt. And I looked back and looked at my sons, Oluwaloni Chibueze and Oluwagbemeleke Chinomso, and I'm thinking, I have to finish strong for them too. But actually, the sacrifice, and it's a fascinating thing, because you think, a lot of the times we do what we do, and it's, you would know as a broadcaster, because people see you guys and think, oh, is it radio? Right. And you know the pain of keeping the dream alive. Right. And then you're constantly looking at yourself, trying to grow yourself, and it's a painful process. But people looking from the outside thinking how wonderful it is for you. Yeah. And so the journey of trying to press towards the mark of high calling, as the writer says, and those things just came on me, and I started to cry, and I thought, and that's a typical example of how even though they're dead, they're still. They still have such an impact on you. I mean, Bishop Jakes would always talk about his mother, and I mean, she's been dead for how long? And when you hear him talk, you see the influence she still has on him. Same thing with Pastor Matthew. He'll talk endlessly about, and I guess parents have that sort of effect on you. So yeah, Shola Olatunde Olanrewaju still has. She's still messing with me.
Quite interesting, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Muyiwa Olanrewaju here with us on the Praise the Lord show this lovely Monday morning, and sharing some very interesting insights with us. Very, very interesting, I must say. And now let's ask this question directly. You are a veteran media practitioner. You've been doing radio, TV for years now, and you've been doing music as well. If you had to choose one, like you had to do media, TV, radio only, no music, or you do music only without the other, which will you choose?
Easy. That's there's no competition. Music all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
It'd be like frowning. They'd be like frowning. I mean, what? The reality is, in terms of numbers, the media has it over anything. Like Turning Point, 70 million people watch Turning Point, and to have the benefit of that. Now, the other interesting thing for me with Turning Point is with Christian. I mean, as you know, Christian TV and media is slightly different from the usual. So much of the time we're paying for space. Well, with Turning Point, we don't pay for any of this. Almost 200 TV stations around the world. We don't pay a penny for any of those spaces. Turning Point used to have people pay for the content. So I'm doing this thing, being paid for it, to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is a big thing. I mean, 11.3 million people gave their lives to Christ through Turning Point 2015, 2016. And
that's huge. That's great.
Those are some numbers. But that doesn't, I'm grateful to God, and then we talked to Premier Radio, weekly 1.2 million people on Premier Radio listening. Premier Gospel, almost 800,000. Premier Praise, about 900,000. Those platforms, but there is nothing that beats being on stage, and it's not just the excitement of the crowd, because I've done events where there's 20 people. I've done the experience. I mean, I did the experience for 3 years in a row, and I've done other events bigger than the experience. So the crowd doesn't matter, but it's just, for me, it's more about the reason for I have a music degree. I finished my business studies degree and did a music degree. And the reason I did a music degree is because I want to do music here. So for me, easy music any day.
I didn't see that.
Neither did I.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be really easy like that.
As in, like, I thought he was like, do I really have to choose? What,
music's got you.
Music has me. But the sad thing is, music has me, but because of the other things I do, I don't really have as much time as I would like to. I mean, if I had all the resources in the world, I would just do music. I mean, media can have me whenever it can, but music will be my thing. I'll be in the studio writing all the time.
Wow.
I mean, Emmanuel, Alade, Wura, the new single, I wrote that 7 years ago.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's taken us that long to I mean, partly because some of my guys didn't like it.
They were not ready for the change, man. They're like, no, that's not you. Okay, so we'll get to the music. So I don't go ahead of myself. So let's finish up on media right now. Now, in your experience of course, hosting Gospel Tonight on Premier Gospel, but more importantly, Turning Point on TV, what has been your most inspiring or emotional moment on TV? Probably a chat with someone where someone shared a story that really got you for days.
There's so many, usually with Turning Point, we film most of Turning Point in Virginia Beach. So I'll fly from London to go and film, and we'll film in bulks. A couple of times a year we'll do different countries. But the stories that you hear are so impactful. A lot of the times I come back feeling like I need counseling because it's just so gut-wrenching, some of them. I have to say some of the high points for me will have to be, one will have to be being the first international journalist to interview Professor Yomi Osibajo. And now I'm not saying that because I'm in Nigeria. I'm saying that because of the magnitude of it. He was a world leader who granted his first interview when coming to office to a Christian journalist. And I sat down with him, and it was one of those moments, where you ask someone a question, and they say something, and you push a little further, and because you realize
there might be some more.
Because I asked him a question, and he gave me the party line, and I pushed a little further, and you could see his body language just change, and it was he started talking about the I don't know if that even ever made it to the main interview cut. Started talking about the sacrifice what it cost him to be where he is, and that was quite moving for me because you don't get to hear that of his story. All you hear is senior advocate of Nigeria, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And then another conversation would have to be there was one with Daddy Gio and one with Michael Konko, and again the thing they raised was sacrifice. With Gio, some of the loss that he had in his life, and the same with Michael Konko.
Right.
And I think the reason it hit me was because it resonated with me and the loss I'd experienced in my own life. Most especially with my parents, because from the age of probably 9 or 10, I didn't see my dad. I sent back from Nigeria, and that was it. Never saw my dad. And then all the imaginations you have, of the fantasy you build up in your mind about your parents, and all that. I had to live with all that, and I felt a deep sense of loss. I remember at the age of 12, Borough High Street in London. I was walking down Borough High Street I was 12 years old. I mean, I was a child. I'd been kicked out by another uncle because I was living with different uncles, and
Wow.
you know, this one with this one. And I wasn't a bad kid. My parents would tell you, of all their 4 children, I was the best behaved.
Hello, Big B.
Now he's
just said
the
hello.
worst behaved. I'm telling you. I'll tell you a story about him if you want to know. I'm telling you, that's that pastor you see. He's a terrible. So so I'm walking down Borough High Street. The uncle had kicked me out because I'd become surplus to their ability to look after children, and all my belongings were in one plastic bag, and the plastic bag burst. And my clothes went on the floor, and I started to cry. And
Like, how old were you at this time?
12.
12.
I started to cry, and people just carried on walking.
Like
People just
nobody cared.
Well, I'm sure they cared, but they cared about their own business. They'd be like, "Who's this? This is black boy crying," you know. And I thought, wow, this is a cold. I just felt. Then all the things I've been through was just
coming back.
Yeah, and it just felt like I'd been thrown away, rejected, and also it was compounded by the fact that in my family, and I tell this story a lot. We have two geniuses. The older girls, the first 2 girls,
Okay.
they're certified. It's not that we imagined it. One went to university at the age of 16. One went to Tunbridge Wells University at the age of 15. Then I came along, and I was. They said I was dull as anything. I was just not, I was just not firing like they thought I ought to. And being the first son, they had a lot of
Expectations.
So a lot of stuff was said about me, about my ability, about my possibilities, and it was all very not nice. And they people, and Yoruba people can be vicious. My shoe, and they just cut you down with it. So all that was playing in my system through that, and that a lot of that forms the fiber of who I am now. Of course, I've had to allow God to deal with some of that brokenness. But when I'm listening to people talk about sacrifice, it hits me in a different way. Yeah, because I look at it from the filter of my own sacrifice, and I feel the gravity of it. And that's how we do as human beings. We're listening with our own filter. So the gravity that we feel may not be the gravity the person speaking feels, but we feel it the way we experienced it. So those will be some of the ones that I've had the opportunity to speak to so many people. It's just, wow. I could go on and on. The fool has never been told.
Okay, so I'm gonna chip in right now as we step to talk about your music.
Yeah.
Now, reading some stuff from your press release and 1 or 2 things I've seen you put up as well, talking about the fact that you haven't put up stuff in 3 years. But then again, I remember a project of I think less than 2 years.
It's more than 2 years, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Ekoile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ekoile is almost 3 years.
Ah.
Yeah.
Really?
The Ekoile concert was 2 years ago, and the concert was about a year after the CD had come out.
Really?
Ah.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, time flies, man.
It feels like yesterday, really.
Now, for you guys, it's okay, because, Mr. Money, you look like you're just 18 years old. And even with your beard gang, man, you still look like a baby.
He's 90. He's in 90s.
So for you, time stands still. But for people like me, gravity's taking its course, So yeah, it's been almost that.
Wow.
Okay. Almost that, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna jump straight to the Alade Wura track right about now. Let's talk about that. Let's groove to that right now. But just before that, what song will you regard your biggest song so far in your music career?
Biggest. When you say biggest, you mean by numbers?
Yeah, numbers,
Or maybe
acceptance.
personal preference as well. Him?
No, let's even start
Okay,
with that.
from people.
Yeah. That
Okay,
you think is your
so in terms of
Reception.
numbers and reception, it probably would be between our breakthrough song was "Our God Is Good." It goes, and we will say, "Our God is good." Now that song came out pre-social media, and it went like haywire all over the UK and then worldwide. So it just goes to show that if there was social media, man, it would have carried him. Because I mean, I still get today. This weekend, whilst I've been in your country, I've had people send me videos of churches singing "Our God is Good." So I think that will probably be it. But then there's also another song called "Here in Rio." Oh Lord, your power is here. That's widely sung in RCCG circles.
Okay.
But then, so those two. But then there's this Heya, which is more known outside of the African space, which is it's the only track. Integrity Music have this album of the best gospel songs ever.
Okay.
And that's the song they picked. And I mean, Integrity, they working with algorithms that's different from mine.
Right.
But I think for me personally, I think it will have to be Our God is Good, because that was a big one for us. Still is. I mean, 14 years later.
So that means that will answer Akib's question as being your personal biggest as well.
No, that's in terms of numbers.
Numbers. Okay, so for you, what is your personal
Favorite.
I'm trying not to even say favorite, but okay, let's use favorite.
Okay,
for now.
I guess because most musicians like, oh, they're all my children. They're all my children.
So I'm trying to help you.
Oh, I feel. Personal favorite. I think I'll probably tell you an answer you heard before. It changes.
Right.
Okay.
But Safe in His Hands is one, because it's a story of my family. Safe from every storm, come whatever may, one thing is for sure remains the same. I mean, this was written out of my experience of my father having been assassinated, my mother died in a car crash, and then Big B being shot with an AK-47 in your country. All that was what precipitated to make that song. So very personal to me. But then another one that is quite personal to me would have to be Modimo, which is on the Ekoile track, Ekoile album. And Ekoile album, I knew it was going to be a commercial failure as far as church space went, but I just had so much to say. I wanted to get issues off my mind. I had issues around, like I said, identity, around race. Now I'd heard for years, being in the UK, Iluti Baje, want to buy Nigeria, yeah. They be doing all this stuff, and people, and all is Nigerians I was hearing saying it. Even my in-laws were saying it. And then you look in the press, they were saying, oh, Nigerians are falling. Even what's her name? Oprah Winfrey. People forget that Oprah called us crooks, Nigerians. You understand? So I'm a young black man and taking all this in, and I'm believing what I'm hearing.
The narrative was just
the narrative, and we weren't dictating the narrative ourselves, because the few were just messing it up for us. So I'm going back to Nigeria. My father's been assassinated, and it proves that yes, the country's bad. I get on the plane. The part of the plane I'm traveling, 90% of them are white. So I'm like, if the country's that bad, where you going? Then when I get to the country, I realize, yes, we got problems, but international companies were doing swift business here. So I'd be like, can't be that bad. So those things just accelerated some of the thoughts I had about injustice, because it's all right for you to say Nigeria is corrupt, but the money is coming to Switzerland, and Switzerland won't give back the money. So in British law, if I steal something and give it to you, you are just as liable as I am.
Right.
And that's English law. Yeah. Yet, with the British system, we know, and then we know from intel that we have, that this money, General so-and-so or Mr. so-and-so is brought in, is stolen. But because it's working for our economy, we'll keep the money. So we have this rule, which we say we govern by, and we are a just people. We are the higher mind. We know better. Yet we're keeping stolen money just on the most basic levels. So I'd be like, so Mr. Bordelon, what makes you different from Brother Shegun? If he's a thief, you're holding stolen money, you be a thief too. But we so imbibed the lies that we would abuse ourselves and throw stones at ourselves and not stop to say, hold on, Negro, they're thieves too, you know. So all that I wanted to say, and all that, of course, is shaped by some of my my theological views. Because I'm a Christian, I'm a gospel artist. So all that came out in Ikoile, and I knew.
Pour yourself out.
Praise and worship weren't going to sing that. You know what I mean? They're not going to sing that. But it was very personal to me. So I'll have to say Modimo was the other one.
Okay. All right. I mean, let's play that one right now. When we're back, we'll talk all about Alade wura, aka Emmanuel, by the way.
Praiseworld Radio.com